Hello, welcome back. In this lecture, we're going to look at Netflix and Netflix recommendation in particular. And if you've ever been to Netflix's site before, you've seen how they have something where if you watch movies or watch TV shows, and they'll have recommended section for you, and they'll say, "Oh, we think you should watch this. You probably would like this." And so we'll look at some of the main ideas as to how they build that recommendation out. We're not going to look at the mathematical specifics because it would take a course in many mathematical courses to explain all that. But we'll look at some of the main ideas, and we'll see some interesting stories behind how it came to be the way it is. And so the main overarching principle here, remember in the optional textbook we base everything in principles, is that crowds are wise. And we didn't look at the chapter before this in the book, or the section before this rather, in the book on Amazon. And we look at Amazon, how they rank products on the display page. And there's actually something called the wisdom of crowds, or basically is saying that if everyone is guessing on the value of something, right, in this case, or in Amazon's case, it would be on what the ranking of a product should be on a scale of 1 to 5. Everybody submits their review. I think it's a 3 stars. I think it's a 5 star. I think you think it's a 4 star. Someone else thinks it's a 2 star. Whatever. Then they, when you average those estimates, you get something that is closer to the true value, provided that they make some assumptions on how the estimates are made. We didn't have time to go through that here, but the main ideas still play a part in that we're going to rely on what people think about ratings in order to make predictions as to what other people's ratings would be. So let's start off by looking at a brief timeline of Netflix's history. So if you've ever rented something or seen a box of Netflix, you know it comes in this red packaging. Typically, this is their trademarked red boxing that you can see in the mail or anything along those sorts. And Netflix all started with a movie of Apollo 13 way back when, in about 1997. One of their founders, Reed Hastings, had rented Apollo 13 out as a movie, and he had already been 6 weeks late on returning it, and so he had racked up already a large sum of late fees. And so one thing that he thought was, well, why should I be charged a late fee every day that I'm late for this movie? This is the only movie that I have out right now. Why shouldn't I be able to keep it out as long as I want, as long as I don't, for instance, take another movie out? And that was kind of one of his ideas, as he started to get fed up with these late fees. So in that same year, as a matter of fact, in 1997, Netflix was founded, and they started off with their standard DVD rental service. And they still operated according to that pay per rental. They didn't move on to the other scheme that I just described yet. They were still operating under the assumption that you would rack up late fees if you returned a movie late, and so on. And then in 1998, they opened up their online store, which started to add more convenience to the customers, because rather than having to drive out to the store or anything like that, you can just order the DVDs offline and have them shipped to your house in an envelope that kind of looks like this. And then in 1999, that's when they really made that switch to, rather than pay per rental, to a monthly subscription plan, where you can keep any movie out as long as you want, and you pay Netflix a monthly subscription, however much each month. I'm not sure what their prices are even now, but they have a monthly subscription. Basically, you can keep a certain number of movies, maybe 1, 2, 3, depending on for how long as you want, but you have a limited number that you can keep out at one time, right? So if you had the movie Apollo 13 out and you have it out for 6 weeks, that's okay, but you just can't get a new one until you return that DVD of Apollo 13. And this also works for online stores. Basically, until you ship it back, you can't get a newer DVD back that you want, but you can only have a limited number out at one time. That's the idea. So rather than paying for each rental that you have, right? So paying per rental would be that every DVD you take out, you actually have to pay and have the late fees associated with that. You just pay a monthly subscription. You can keep each of these out as long as you want, but you can only have a limited number amount at one time. So now, in terms of Netflix operation, there's two things that we should note. They've been really scalable over the years, and we've looked at scalable in terms of algorithms and things along those sorts, but what we really mean by scalable here is that the cost that it takes them to operate is less as they have more users, basically. So the cost per user is going to be less. And so basically, if you plot this out, right, and this would be their cost of operation in dollars, say, and then this is the number of people or the number of subscribers that they have, it's going to be a curve kind of like the utility curve that we looked at in the last lecture, right? Kind of like this, right? Where it's going to tip off, and the increase is going to get less as the number of people goes higher and higher. And they're also, in addition to being scalable, they also operate with a lot of stickiness, and that means that customers tend to stay.